Beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're back again, welcome. Yeah, so we're gonna do the Bloodmarked recap. Okay, I know you guys have been waiting for this. You guys have been wanting this. Bloodmarked is the second book in the Legendborn Cycle series. So you need to read Legendborn first. I already have my Legendborn recap up. It's in 2 parts because I just really don't understand how people can really explain all the goodness that happens in these books into just like one 15-minute video. So I have 2 Legendborn recap videos already live. So make sure you read the book and make sure you've watched those recap videos before watching this one because, like I said, this is the second book in the Legendborn Cycle series by Tracy Deonn. So yeah, we're going to talk about this baddie right here. All the goodness that happens in here. So let's get started, get a snack. And if you like these kind of recaps, if you like these kind of deep dives, please make sure you like the video. Please make sure you let me know in the comment section down below and subscribe so you know when the next ones are coming out. Yeah. So here we are, Bloodmarked. We're going to start with the prologue. This is where Bree is going like through the dream walk, I believe, of 8 of her ancestors. And this is kind of like where we get some of the most infamous lines about like, you are the tip of our arrow. We ran so you wouldn't have to. And it kind of just re-emphasizes what her black ancestry line, what they wanted for her, and how that differs from maybe like her other King Arthur of like the order and what that meant. So that's really what we get. Daughter of daughters, the revelation after centuries of hiding, the pain-wielded blade, wound turned weapon. So this is kind of like a lot of where we get the most infamous lines in the prologue. Now we go straight into part 1, which is strength. And this covers chapters 1 through 12. Again, okay, craziness happened at the end of Legendborn. You know, Bree pulled out the Excalibur and everything like that. She wanted to be with Nick. So Sel got her to Nick in the lodge, all 3 of them together. It's a whole thing. So now Bree is in the lodge, and remember that Nick actually got kidnapped while she was sleeping. So it was a whole to do. And that again was basically because like, why not just take Bree, because we know that she's a scion of Arthur, and that's because she is not just the scion of Arthur. She has the line of Vera. She has her ancestry at play here. She has other things in play here that we'll later figure out. So she's not just your typical scion. So we can't just take her like that just yet because we don't know what we're dealing with, kind of thing. So in the meantime, in between time, they decide that Bree's going to stay in the lodge. We're going to try to protect her. And so Sel has already put the wards up. I think there's 3 levels of wards here, and Bree is trying to test them, trying to break through, see if she can escape, because she wants to go find Nick. Like, she does not want to just sit around, do nothing. Like, she is a leader. She is the sign of King Arthur. Like, she has this urge to do something about it. And they just want her to like sit around and wait and be protected. So, because, you know, if Bree dies, she is the scion of King Arthur. That means the line falls forever. And there's no one around to like battle the Shadowborn and protect humanity, kind of thing. So it's a pretty big deal if she like kicks the can. So she's trying to break through Sel's wards. Will finds her, Will's already gonna know what's going on, and she's still having trouble creating ether constructs and, even like materializing a sword and things like that. And Will suggests it's like, well, you haven't spent enough time with Excalibur. You probably need to spend more time with it. Like, you need to hold it, you need to become one with it before you can, fully, construct it. Not only did she pull the Excalibur, she has to do this kind of again because she has to like perform a rite in front of the regents, in front of the other important people. Like, she has to kind of like prove herself again and claim her title officially, not just what happened during battle and the Cruhels and all of that stuff. So if you remember, when when that whole battle was going down, we actually lost 4 people from the Legendborn. We lost Fitz, Evan, Russ, and Witty. And remember, Evan, as we knew Evan, was a Cruhel, meaning a demon probably killed Evan and now is imitating Evan. And I never liked Evan. Sorry to that man. So they're having a funeral. Evan's family is like disrupting the funeral because they're like, is this some sick cover up for, Martin Davis again? Like he's trying to push Camland. He wants control over the table. He don't want the lieges or the vassals to like forget like, you know, who's really running stuff. And they really just want answers. Like, how long has this group hell been imitating Evan? How long have we been thinking we're talking to our son and we're not talking to our son? So all of that. Meanwhile, Cell hasn't showed up to the funeral yet. Like, where is Cell? Like, everyone's here, okay? Where is Cell at? Larkin makes a comment like it's not like a King's Mage to be late. He knows what's going on with Cell behind the scenes, but I don't think Cell wanted him to tell Bree just yet, but Bree's gonna find out anyway, so we learn some more backstory when it comes to Larkin. He was trained up with Cell back in the day. They really want to push that Larkin should be Brianna's King's Mage because, Cell is Nick's King's Mage. Anyways, we need to go do the rite of the King Arthur thing. So Lark is going to escort Brianna to the rite. Before they actually get there, all hell breaks loose. Of course it does. Why wouldn't it? All hell breaks loose. They're riding in the Beast, and the Beast reminds me of like a Batmobile, but it's like bulletproof, like locked down, and like so like they get attacked. I'm just gonna call them all hellhounds, but they get attacked by Shadowborn. Lark is like, stay in the car. He like buckles her down in the car, like the way they described it is almost like there's no way anyone could get out of this car. Like, you are hunkered down in this car. But Bree is not typical. So she can get out of the car. And Erebus takes notice of Bree's strength during this. He likes taking notice of her getting out of this Batmobile security car. This is when Cell finally appears. He finally shows up. But they get arrested. Like, Cell gets arrested, and he kind of seems to agree, like, with the Order's assessment of him, because how he treated Brianna back during the trials and in the very beginning, where he didn't trust her, where he was very suspicious of her, and didn't really have any true evidence against her, is coming to bite him back in the ass. Even her own testimony of how he treated her in the beginning is coming back to, not go well for him. So I think he kind of just believes that he's descending. He believes he's probably not a good person. He believes that he should be arrested. Like, he truly believes the line is law, and he's drinking the Regent's Kool-Aid. Like, he truly believes it. So he really thinks he needs to be locked up. They put these special cuffs on him, so he can't conjure up ether. You can't do that. It's like kind of like a magic blocking handcuff system that they got going on. But he goes willingly. He does call out, though, that it's kind of suspicious that the Shadowborn even knows who Bree is. So, like, this attack on Bree and going to the rites and all of that, as far as this point, everyone else should know that Nick is actually the scion of Arthur. That's the whole thing we believe this whole time until the very end of Legendborn. And only a few people knows that that's not true anymore, that Brianna is the scion of King Arthur. So the fact that Shadowborn came to attack them on the way to the rite shows that someone must be in the camps, talking to the Shadowborn, working with the Shadowborn. Like, how does the Shadowborn know to come after Bree? So he finds that really suspicious. And he started to think, like, are the Shadowborn working with the line of Morgaine, which Morgaine is rogue Merlins, as we were taught about them. And I still believe, like, remember, there could still be more 𝙁ℏ in our midst. Like, he never knew Evan was a 𝙁ℏ before it came out. So there could be more in our midst sharing the information. So it's almost like we can't trust nobody. We get backstory on Erebus and Natasha. Remember, Natasha is Cell's mom, who is a Merlin. Okay. She was actually Martin Davis's King's Mage. So, Erebus, basically tells us that him and Natasha knew each other. I think that's how he actually got his name, Erebus. Erebus also performed the bond between Nick and Cell. And apparently Lark and Erebus both know the truth of what happened to Cell's mom, Natasha. So they continue to the right. They seem to have some sort of understanding between, needing to keep this true information kind of like hush hush. They don't want widespread destabilization during wartime. Like, we've already lost 4 Legendborn. We're having higher and higher ranks being called. Camland is inevitable. the order is inherently racist. So, and then Martin Davis is over here, trying to push Camlan because he thinks he would have power over Nick and to rule things. So with all that going on, meanwhile, you got a 𝙳𝚏𝚏 mimicking Evan. Like, you got too much crap going on. And now you just want to keep the truth of Bree actually being the King Scion under wraps. You want that a little bit chilled out a little bit. Okay, so during the rite, again, Bree is not typical. So a typical rite didn't go as one could expect, but it's been however many hundreds of years since this ever happened. So during the rite, it's almost as if Bree is dreamwalking in King Arthur's mind. She finds herself at the round table, and she has that call and response with Lancelot. So through this, though, she's able to also kind of talk to Nick, like that call and response thing. So we kind of get like, oh, so Nick can kind of be a part of this shared memory too. Because really, it was just Bree going through these memory walks alone. And let me just tell you, this whole time of me reading this, I'm just like, I don't trust Erebus or Kestra. They both try me. And I think my intuition is correct. But whatever. Anyways, now we're on to part 2, which is power. Oh boy, a lot happens here. This is covering chapters 13 through 29. So the rite was a setup. The whole rite was a setup, The Council of Regents cannot be trusted. I knew not to trust them. I don't like them. They're not trustworthy. I feel like they got their own agenda. So this whole thing was low-key a setup too. Because like during the rite, she's doing all this, she takes the Excalibur out, and I think someone, I can't remember who, but someone like inject her with something to like knock her out, like diminish her like powers, I believe. So they essentially kidnap her. They kidnap her, they take her to the Institute, and this reminds me of like a Black Mirror episode because they keep like dragging her and asking her questions, and like they're really torturing this poor girl, and this is insane. Do you know how scary that is? That's crazy. Anyways, they keep dragging her, asking her questions over and over again. They also manipulate and kidnap William because he's a healer. So they just check in with William to make sure is she okay to be, interrogated again. They don't want to kill her. Again, it's not good to kill her, right? But they want to get the information they want out of her. So this kind of messes with William, because ethically, he's a healer. That Bree is his friend now, and like he can't do anything to really stop what the Regents are doing. He tried to advocate for her, but the Regents are something else. And they lock her up in like a prison-like room that's both technical and ether locked. It's like a prison room. They feed her food, but it's like laced with things to like dampen her power. I think it dampens for sure like her author power, but I don't know if they don't know enough about her root really. But they keep lacing her food, blah blah blah, woo woo. Long story short, when everything was going down, William gave Alice a note of the lieges to call, I believe. So they end up planning to break Bree out. William had the foresight to know something's not going to be quite right with all of this. So we need to get things in order already. And I think through the food, they were able to like, I think it was like some kind of food, like not the typical food that she was getting, but she was able to, be in contact with someone, right? So it turned out to be a liege. And they're like, if you want to get out, we only have a couple of minutes because we're planning this whole thing. So you're just going to have to trust me. We're going to have to book it out of here. Let's go. Follow my lead. I'll tell you what to do. All you got to do is just like run full throttle and get up out of there. We also find out that the Regents want everyone to keep quiet about Camlan as long as they can because they still need a king who is under their control, under their power, under their influence. Bree is not their puppet. They want a puppet. Again, Nick is still kidnapped, right? The Regents have already decided like, okay, Martin Davis can't be trusted. He took Nick. We're going to have a next in line. We're going to have a next eligible heir in the line of Lancelot. We're going to figure out who this is. We're going to have that one set up ready to go. But the only way to force that to happen, to make their next heir actual, the scion of Lancelot, is to kill Nick. So they're not trying to search, hunt, and find, Nick and save him because he's already proved like he don't even want to deal with this for real. He already backed away from the order. He backed away from the line. He already did that. Martin Davis can't be fully trusted either. So they just want to kill Nick so then they could go ahead and push their own heir again under their power, influence, and control. And, you know, Bree, thanks to the Lieges, thanks to William, thanks to Alice, and to everyone involved, she has been able to break free out of the Regent's prison, basically. And they run away with the Lieges. They end up going to like some kind of like I imagine like a little cabin somewhere actually, where there's another leash, Jonas, who's there. Jonas is not to be trusted. Jonas had a ωєℓℓ-𝚑𝚑𝚒𝚑 up in that thing. So when he knew that Bree was gonna be alone, I think he probably had some deal with 𝚑𝚑𝚒𝚑 or something, which is crazy because he was willing to die. You know how you're like your oaths, like you cannot harm people like, you know, like that in the line, like there's certain oaths involved. And he's willing to die by the oaths just to make sure, you know, either Bree is dead or like the 𝚑𝚑𝚒𝚑 gets her way with Bree kind of thing. Because 𝚑𝚑𝚒𝚑 tries to kill her, but it doesn't work. It's almost at this point we think like her root hurts 𝚑𝚑𝚒𝚑. And so 𝚑𝚑𝚒𝚑's like, I don't want none of these problems, you know, I'm not doing this, da 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 da, whoop de woo. Trust me, let me go. I'm out of here, blah blah blah. But and then basically the cell like ends up throwing a knife at her and she dies. And Alice witnesses these things again. She's starting to see more and more things now ever since Bree and Jesse, her ancestor, kind of helped Alice heal. Alice now can see more and more things. I don't think she can see ether per se. Again, the black ancestry is the part that helped to heal Alice, but she could see, you know, this killing and Alice doesn't handle it well. So now that we realize that even some of the lieges aren't trustworthy, we need to have another game plan. Who has already, you know, shown that they are loyal to our side of things and are trustworthy to us? Because again, what about Bree's dad? You know, even what about Alice's family? Like, we don't need a liege who is conniving and backstabbing and not supportive of Bree to be watching her family. So listen, Ophelia or Legis that they can trust. So they end up taking a keeping an eye on Bree's dad. And at the end, you know, they kind of decide like, what are we gonna do, right? Because at first it's like, are we gonna search for Nick? What are we gonna do? Of course, Bree wants to go search for Nick. Again, I kind of feel like that kind of calls to like the call and response with, you know, King Arthur in her as well. Lancelot as well, the closeness and that call and response. I obviously and Bree and Nick too, like their friendship, their situationship or whatever is calling her like we can't just let like Nick was willing to do and chart the unknown for me so I can find out the truth about my mom. I can't just like let him be kidnapped and like say whatever, you know? So she wants to go see if she could go find Nick. But then, you know, Alice, Will, and Stella are talking. They're like, obviously people can't be trusted. There's too much things going on. Bree, you're so powerful. You're also so sought out after. Like, I think it's better if we just run and hide or you'll die. Woo. Okay, so that was part 2. Part 3 is control. Okay. So when the Legions came to save Bree. I think they end up getting on a plane. Did they end up getting on a plane? Am I making it up? I know they were in a Jeep and then they had to hop a plane. I think they had to hop a plane. I'm pretty sure that's how that happened. She talks to Samira, who was one of the other black lieges there. And Samira gives her some information, you know, telling her, you know, basically to go to the Crossroads bar and ask for Lucille. Okay. And to also be careful of who you trust information with. Basically, you know, be more mindful, have discernment about this stuff. So they go to the Crossroads bar. You know, you enter the bar, you have to agree to things like you're not going to cause a ruckus. You're not going to cause a fight. You're not going to, don't start none, won't be none. Like you're agreeing to that kind of thing. And this is like a lot of Cambions are there, you know, half demon people are there. You have warlocks there. It's a very like a bar situation. One of the waitresses can just already tell like basically everyone except for Bree can tell that Cell is succumbing to his demon blood, basically. So she offers him a shot of ether because apparently this will help keep things at bay. Yeah, so anyway, so they're there a while, they learn some things, they listen to some things, they're like, okay, actually, we need to get up out of here. We need to go. So let's close out our tab and let's bounce. Cell and Kane. Cell and Kane goes to that bar. He ends up getting into it with a warlock. Bree gets over there, gets involved. Now her whole route done got everybody's eyes amazed. Like, what kind of power is that? And like, blah, blah, blah. And like everything. Then Valak comes out and he makes it seem like, oh, it's all a part of the show. Blah, blah, blah. Woo. But Cell and Bree broke one of the rules that they agreed to not to break upon entry. They started some shit and now there's some shit happening. So they have to make things right. So they go talk to Valak. One thing leads to another. Blah, blah, blah. This is also where we realize that Cell has been secretly mesmering Brianna. In a way to where it only hides how bad he really is. Like him being away from Nick, him not fulfilling his oaths to Nick specifically, how that's impacting him. And because oaths, we believe, is to help Merlins, stay in touch with their human side and not succumb to the demonic side. So he wanted to hide how inhuman he's becoming from Brianna, but everyone else could see it. Like Alice made a comment before, the waitress can clearly see it. So he was kind of mesmering things, and that betrays her because she's wondering, like, you were mesmering me, but we were also getting close. We were also like feeling feelings. So like, were you like being a Merlin and like, you know what I mean? Like doing too much? Like, was any of that real or was all of it just a portrayal? Anyways, long story short, Valak, ends up taking them to Lucille because he realizes that, Bree is a root crafter. Lucille says, bring any root crafter her way. Cell will end up consuming ether and has some on hand. So that seems to be helpful for his descent, at least for now. Now, if you want to know who Valak is Lucille's many times over great uncle. Again, he's like a 250-year-old Cambion. So Val is Lucille's uncle. So when he takes them to Lucille, we run into Mariah. I was wondering if we were ever going to see Mariah again. Mariah, cool. And apparently Lucille is Mariah's aunt. So that's the connection there. But, Bree is with Will. Bree has Cell there too, and them two creates tension around people, especially the Merlin, especially the King's Mage. It seems like that leaves a bad taste in any of the root crafters' mouths. So anyways, long story short, Lucille suggests that they go to Volition. Okay. Before we go to Volition though, we're discussing Camland again. Root crafters are aware of Camland. This might be the Camlands of all Camlands. Val suggests to Lucille that based on the root that he saw in his club, in his bar, Bree might be the only one that could fight the hunter, the root crafter's boogeyman. So maybe if we train her up, she might be the only one that can rival the hunter's power. The hunter is what Gruchel's called the Great Devourer. So this boogeyman demon got multiple names. We got Great Devourer, we got the hunter. I think the Shadow King. Let me not say too much. Anyways, it goes by a lot of names. There's discussion like, oh, we thought root crafters and Cambions don't mix. And it's kind of like some do, some do not. And later on, like I think as we're going to Volition, this is where we realize in one of Bree's memory walks that the woman named Pearl that actually gave birth to a Crossroads baby, Pearl is actually Valak's mom. Okay, so we witnessed his birth, basically. So they need to go to Volition, see the conductor. Name is Hazel. Hazel is Lucille's partner. They've been together for years and years and years. So they go there for a reprieve. Valak Actually, in the middle of all this, as they get a reprieve on the way to actual Volition, Valak offers Bree a shot of ether from his flask. I feel like Valak knows way more about Bree, and he's putting more and more things together about Bree than we even know about Bree. You know what I mean? Like, he knows. I feel like he's putting the pieces together, because when he gives her this ether, her eyes glow red and then black like coals. So keep that in mind, because someone else's eyes does the same thing too. And this is kind of this is signaling, my goodness, something else. And so I think Valak finds this finding interesting, but I think he's starting to put the pieces together. Cell and Bree have a moment, about like, when I saw your bravery, Bree, when I saw this and this and this, like, only a monster could look at you and want to destroy you. I think Cell is really, really hard on himself for how he treated Bree, and I think that's also why he, went along with getting handcuffed kind of thing. Yep, he discussed that he only did visual illusion with her, nothing else, so that everything was real. We get a glance of King Arthur's memory when the first spell was casted. We also see Nick. And at this time, when we see Nick, he finally tells us where he's at, because he's starting to be in danger. And he's at the cabin in Sapphire Valley, which belongs to Anna. Anna is Nick's mom. Remember, Nick's mom tried to kidnap Nick, right? Because Martin Davis was doing too damn much. So Mama said, okay, we getting up out of here. Okay, well, then he calls the regents, blah, blah, blah. She broke the rule. She wasn't supposed to kidnap her own child. So they mesmer her. Tacitus mesmer her. He's one of the stronger Merlins. And then she's mesmered so bad, she don't even know she has a son. Anyways, her family still are vassals. So they still kept in contact with the order, because there's benefits to being a vassal. They're one of the oldest standing vassal family. They get a lot of perks out of that. So they go to that cabin because they didn't think that the regents or anybody would suspect that they would be in a cabin that Anna's family owned, because of the history. She's in this memory walk. She finds out where Nick is. Nick's in trouble, blah, blah, blah. Alice awakes her from this memory walk. And with some convincing, Cell and her decide to go after Nick alone. This is also where Cell notices something different about Bree. I think this is where she gets the silver streak curls in the front of her face, and it looks like liege hair. If you're a liege, you tend to turn gray and stuff like that. Retired scion, blah blah blah. And her scent is different this time. She smells like Nick, and he makes it sound like it smells bad. I'm like, okay, what is that about? Okay, so long story short, they get to the cabin, and now fighting, knuck if you buck. Okay, we got fighting going on. I think the regents and Erebus show up, right? Is that how that happens? They do show up, and I'm trying to figure out how they know to go there. Anyways, I guess they got caught on to where Nick and them were hiding out at, so they're not silly. They know how to put clues together. So there's fighting. Nick's dad's trying to hold him back. Nick breaks away free. Erebus tells Max to basically kill Nick. Max throws that spear, but it doesn't kill Nick because his dad hop, jump, and skip in front of him. So basically, Max ended up killing his dad. And then Nick decides to return the favor and kill Max. It's only fair. This comes up later, though. Isaac, which is, oh yeah. Because remember that Nastasia was Martin Davis's King's Mage, right? And remember on the Wall of Ages, that King's Mage part of like the family tree was like scratched out really, really bad. Isaac, I forget his last name. Isaac, I don't like his ass either. Isaac is now his new King's Mage, right? Right. So Isaac and Erebus end up tussling. Eventually, Nick spots Bree and Cell watching in the forest, because like they don't want to be seen, but they're glad that Nick can see them. So again, they're going there to try to save Nick. Nick don't go with him. Nick says, I'm going this other way. What do you mean? We do all of this to come save you, and you just leave us. You just leave us. Anyways, Erebus ends up sensing that Bree is out there. So, he's doing this whole thing. I think he's using his powers too to eventually close in on them. He's over here telling her, you're still with that Merlin. You can't trust Cell and blah, blah, blah. But remind you, Cell still have these damn void cuffs on him. But Bree uses her power to cut the cuffs off and break Cell free. Now, if you did not highlight that, you should highlight that. You should highlight that, because I'm pretty sure the only person that could take off these cuffs are the damn Merlin person who put them on. Wasn't it? Y'all gonna put that together, okay? Because I wrote that this should have tipped us off to begin with. Anyways, they explode together. Cell's eyes glow the color of her root. A dragon in the night. I like these dragon references. I like where this is going. I hope we get more dragon stuff happening. And their construct against Erebus ends up burning him pretty bad. So, you know, Erebus actually gets burnt pretty bad. So he needs like probably some time to heal. And after that root blast, Valak shows up like, what the hell is going on? People could feel Bree's power. It felt like rage, power, chaos, the good stuff that attracts demons. Mariah called him from Hazel saying she left in a rush. And this whole big boom attracts Shadowborn, right? And some emerge in the forest with them. You know, one of the hellhounds, Shadowborn, is trying to attack Bree, but Arthur actually makes like his own, I think they're like silver mage flame constructs that come up as armor. But as they were, you know, protecting her and all of that and had to reappear and stuff like that, she still gets hurt pretty badly. I mean, Bree is like gushed. Like she is gutted by this damn demon. Long story short, Cell had to like hold her organs together. Val has to go get William to help heal her. Oh, and that's when Valak realized, oh, she isn't casting this ether. She is the king's scion. And Cell says, no, she's my king. Meaning, you know, she thought he was the king's squire, right? No. She's king, darling. She's king. Anyways, and Cell holding Bree together is no small feat for Merlin to do for almost 3 hours at that. They discuss, you know, Bree thinks some of the things that some of these people are doing is just because of the line and the order. And William's like, you are my friend. Like, I'm not just doing this because of the line and the order and all of that. And we kind of get the sense of like not belonging anywhere. Again, Bree not feeling like she belongs anywhere because she's a Black girl in this like, you know, white secret society, not being welcomed, not feeling like she belonged. Valak also makes a good point that, you know, a lot of Cambians feel the same way. Most of us go a very long time without feeling like we belong anywhere. And that's when they discuss, like, she's like, Cell belongs to the order. And Valak is like, you can't belong to an idea. Cell and Bree have another moment. This is around chapter 43. My King's Mage oath is to Nicholas, as you've helpfully pointed out in the past. Some days it's nearly impossible for me to fight that instinct, but with you, no other Merlin can protect you like I can, because no other Merlin feels about you the way I do. Cell and Kane. Anyways, he's basically saying, like, if something was ever to happen to Bree, you know, the world will not be the same. He will not be the same. Like, he's going a roundabout way of saying how he feels about her. Valak, I think, again, is wheels are turning, putting things together. So he wants to see something. I think seeing how Bree interacted with that ether shot from his flask led to more and more thoughts from him. And now he knows, okay, you are king, basically King Bree, put respect on it. He wants to send Bree off with something. He wants to see something. No gimmicks, nothing owed, no bargains, no nothing. Basically, he's doing something, and Valak's power becomes too close. So then Bree is like, burn him out. So she does, and this is where Bree's blood mark appears. Bree has a mark on her chest where Valak's palm was. He didn't do that. It was already there. He just revealed it. And this is also where we realize her ancestor made a major bargain. There's a demon out there who is waiting on me to fulfill a bargain. Yep. And nothing and no one in either dimension can stop them from coming to collect. Child, if you're not stressed out yet, that's crazy. So then, you know, Cell's like, what the hell is going on here? Valak had enough. This is where Valak, I'm telling you, his smart ass math, I'm like, oh my God. He's like, you getting close to the edge again, King's Mage? Jump into the worst case scenario first. Assuming I want to tie Bree to me beyond the bounds of this conversation, keep her to myself? Don't you? Well, yes, Cell says. Watch yourself. Then this is where Valley says, the difference between you and me, Kane, is that I'm a transparent sort who's happy to say out loud all that I desire. Selwyn, are you scared? You want the same, you just can't really come out and say it, not really. Anyways, we realize that she's blood marked by the hunter himself and needs to get to Volition ASAP. And Volition is kind of crazy because there's a town here named Guthrie, and this is Guthrie Plantation. I need to look more into that. It's too crazy. But anyways, there's like a big construct at Volition. Oh my goodness. There's a big construct at Volition that is held up by the spirits of the ancestors, because at this plantation, right? So the ancestors decided to reclaim this plantation for their own. So it's not just, suffering that happens here. This is where our people can find refuge here, so on and so forth. So this is like one of the most grandest kind of protection ward kind of thing that we've seen. Alice can see this. She can see and feel root. Again, I feel like when Jesse helped Bree heal her, Alice got some powers. All right, y'all. We almost there. We are part 4, Volition. Welcome to Volition, where our will be done. This covers chapters 46 to 53. They arrive at Volition. Essentially what happens is only those who were descendants of the enslaved can stay in the main house. Everyone else are guests. This is a plantation area reclaimed by the souls. So with the help of Lou and Hazel, they help Bree connect with her ancestors to get information, but they can only show her what they did, and know the decisions that must be made in this present is up to her. She gets to see her mom in this process too. And when her mom, Faye, sees Bree's silver liege hair, she doesn't feel good about it. She doesn't like that. This doesn't seem like to be a good sign either. And then later on, Bree and Vera talks, because again, Bree is coming here for answers, but like she's not getting answers. She's only getting what her ancestors had to do, which obviously is like run, hide, protect yourself. Don't be careful who you talk to, kind of thing. Survive, basically. And she wanted more answers than that, besides being, you're the tip of our arrow. And so Bree gets like pretty pissed off about this. And so her and the line of Vera get into it. They get hella heated. Okay, so yeah, so they help Bree get in contact with the ancestors for more info. Her and Vera get into it. She like breaks this like construct of a barrier, like that's crazy. So Bree's embarrassed. She runs out. Cell goes to try and comfort her. Chapter 52 is like what I call Bree and Cell's chapter, because yeah, it's their chapter. Bree is able to bring Cell and Nick together on her memory walk. They talk. Nick is trying to find another way out of this whole ordeal, because if he comes back, things would be very much like per usual, how the order wants it to be. But we finally get some clarity in chapter 2 between Bree and Cell, because he reveals what {ʌ} means, and Cell meant all the different meanings with Bree. So please go reread that, because that's really cute. Anywho, it's like Bree's birthday too, so like eventually like Cell wants to take her out, to see all like the cute little lightning bugs. They're so cute. But the Mage Guards finds Bree and the crew at Volition. But when you're inside the barrier, especially when it's like fully enclosed, people who aren't welcome there can't like see into the barrier or anything like that, but they can smell that they're both there, especially with them being outside and everything like that. Brianna comes up with a plan, y'all, and she comes up with a plan because the Mage Guard didn't just show up empty-handed. They also had Patricia Hartwood. Remember the therapist who first, took Bree on her first memory walk and things like that? They got her captive, right? And they're like making threats that I feel like they would follow through on. So basically they want an exchange, right? We want Bree alone, and we will give you Patricia Hartwood back. But again, remember King Arthur's kind of nagging her. He's always in the background kind of thing of like wanting to like only a king could teach a king kind of thing, and blah, 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 blah. So, and Brianna can't take on like all these Mage Guards alone. She wants Cell and them to trust her. Again, no one else knows about this plan that she's about to reveal or about to, push through with. So Brianna calls on King Arthur and welcome him and his damn possession for his help because he can't take on all these foes by herself. Anyways, people are tussling, rumbling, bumbling. Alice has like this like transmitter for demons that she got when they first broke Bree out. It's kind of like a recorder. It's like one of those high pitched sound things that really bothers the Merlins. I think everyone. I don't know if Erebus was affected by it, but all the King's mages and Merlins and all them people was not doing good. I think Erebus, he just started bleeding from his ears, but otherwise he was like pretty cool about it. I think that's a sign. Write that down. So then Alice goes to grabs Bree's shoulder, but remember, Bree is being possessed by King Arthur. King Arthur basically mollywops Alice. Like he like flips her over. She hits the fan. And she ends up going unconscious. Like, damn. Bree feels guilty, so guilty because, again, like she didn't know who it was that grabbed her like from behind. She didn't know any of that. And like Alice is her best friend. When it comes down to it though, Arthur's not playing nice. He's like, this is my body now. He's not letting Bree go. He's like pushing her further back into his like consciousness and further away from the possibility of her ever getting back into her body. Like, that's crazy work. Okay, y'all. We are here. We are in the final part of Bloodmarked. Only a King, chapters 54 through 60. Now we gotta listen to King Arthur's point of view. He really ticked me off during this. I am Arthur Pendragon and I own this body now. Sir, please. Turns out he's been manipulating Bree this whole time, like making her not be able to construct ether and like control her powers. So she ends up doubting herself and ends up thinking that she needs him to teach her how to use her power. So he was manipulating her this whole time. Anyways, eventually other people, the regions and everyone else ends up realizing, oh, okay, so Arthur's in this body, but looks like Bree. Okay, got it. So they still like handcuffed him, and he just like doesn't willingly. He doesn't put up a fight. But him manipulating Bree is like back. It's like biting him in the ass because now it makes him seem like, do you really want this king who can't even control blase to have control over this? So he did to manipulate Bree, but it ends up biting him in the ass anyway. Bree is trapped now. So fully trapped. She switched places with King Arthur. And now she's in King Arthur's dreams inside of the realm of an imagined Camelot. So she reminds herself, this isn't real, this isn't real, this isn't real, this is all a dream. So she's in this dream. No one sees her. She can't interact with anybody. She's just like a fly on the wall, seeing what happens from scene to scene. This is also where we learn that Arthur has a sister named Morgane. And apparently it's his half-sister, but that's funny, like the line of Morgane and blah, 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 and whoop-de-whoop. Okay, so he has a sister named Morgane. So, yeah, so in real life, though, King Arthur ends up talking to the Shadow King, and he becomes suspicious when he realizes the Shadow King is unwilling to attack Bree's body. And Shadow King reiterates that Bree is an investment. And this is where King Arthur realizes that Bree has actually been bloodmarked by the Shadow King. Then, they get back to where everyone else is, right? Because we was just dealing with the core homies. Now we end up going where everyone else at. And then we also see some unfamiliar faces. But this is also where people are realizing Bree really isn't herself in this moment. So they're like, they see Bree in cuffs. They see all this, see all that. But they realize it's not really Bree subconsciously. And Rootcrafters, of course, is urging King Arthur and them to let Bree go. Regent Kestra says, we will control her our way. I'm so sick of her. She need to go on somewhere. King Arthur isn't happy about this. But, he already has the cuffs on. And they head to the northern chapter. So this is also where we find out. Remember when Victoria earlier in Legendborn and stuff like that, when things were hitting the fan and all that business, she called it emissary. Basically, Victoria is a traitor. But that also led to like Sarah and some other people also keep things from her because they realize They didn't know to what extent they couldn't trust Victoria, but they knew they just couldn't trust her. So anyways, Victoria's a traitor, and so that's how that went. Excalibur is around, but it's broken in 2 pieces. And then these unknown faces that we initially thought were squires were actually outsiders that have been waiting and watching. Morgaine's descendant shows up. This descendant's name is Ava. And this makes Regent Kestra yell at Victoria saying, "You hid this. You hid that the table has aligned with Morgaine's." That's in chapter 57. But the Morgaines are who have kept Greer and them up to date about how the regents kidnapped and drugged Bree. So that's how they got up to date about what really happened. Not, not what they wanted other people to believe, but the truth. A fight breaks out. This is where Ava is like, yo, the only way for the order to end is it must end with Arthur dying. So Ava is ready to kill Arthur. She about that life. In the meantime, in between time, we go back to Bree being in K.A.'s mind, King Arthur's mind. And we're a part of a dream where Morgaine is basically saying like how the Excalibur absorbs King Arthur's power and is tied and connected to him, goes dim when it's away from him and no one else can wield it. And she mentions how the Shadow King's crown, which they have, works similarly. Again, write this down. Dream Bree touches Shadow King's crown. Her blood mark and root comes roaring to life. And now she's not imaginary anymore. Everyone now can see her like, who are you? What's going on? So shit hits the fan. Merlin, the original Merlin, recognizes the blood mark on Bree. The Hunter, Great Devourer, Shadow King, it's all the same. And the Shadow King survived King Arthur's attack and lived long enough to blood mark the line of Vera. So the original Merlin, the knight Lancelot, is on Bree's heels. To protect herself, root flows over her chest and hardens, becoming scales. This is like that dragon reference. Dragons never die. In the middle of this battle in Hoopla, they try to get Bree to stop because we later find out that it's actually Nick and Sel, right? The descendants of Merlin and the Knight of Lancelot. They intercepted this dream. They're a part of this dream now. It's not just the originals, right? But again, this whole time is a whole dream. So now it's not until she touched that damn Shadow King's crown. Now things are on and popping. Anyways, she ain't listening to them. She ain't stopping them because, again, she doesn't know if I die in dreamland, do I die for real? Like, is my subconscious always gone and I'll never be me again. So anyways, they left Sel with no other choice. He's like, I have to do this. Like, you have to let me try because she's going to kill us if I don't try. And they take a whole gamble on this thing. So basically, Sel devours her power so she could stop trying to kill them. And again, if she has this blood mark on her, he's devouring this power beyond the pain of this blood mark because he didn't put the blood mark on her to get her to stop, right? So now he's no longer part human, part demon. He's full-blown succumbed to his demon blood because of this, because he took on all that power kind of thing. Kind of like how Kezia was wanting to devour her, but she couldn't because she was blood marked, right? So he does it, and he goes beyond the pain of what that blood mark would have impacted on him. And now he is like full-blown demon. Full-blown. Anyways, they took a gamble on this whole thing. They actually end up doing like some blood crafting work to get into this dream to begin with. And the only way, she accepted King Arthur in. So the only way to like switch places to get him out is to reject him on her own volition. She must reject him, the oaths, everything he's ever given to her, everything, and then she is back. We realize Alice is in a coma. We don't know if Alice is going to make it, honestly, and they're stressing me out with that. Sel is now even more dangerous because of his pneumonia. And then when we flash back into real life, again, remember Ava, descendant of Morgaine, was about to kill King Arthur, who was in Bree's body. She was about to kill him, right? I think Nick jumps into action to stop all that happening in like milliseconds. Like, crazy. I don't know what would have happened if they didn't jump in on that. This is where Bree has had enough of everything. Bree has had enough for the line of Vera and the Order. She has had enough with both sides of her ancestors. She's over it. And I think she's kind of like drying up the streams to these certain ancestries. And so Vera tells her, you don't want the weight of us, but consider where that leaves you. Consider that chaos favors imbalance. So Bree is burning away their roots and is finally free to grow on her own. She has Excalibur in her possession again. She mends it back together. Then Bree makes one final decision. When one of Bree's line is in mortal danger, we realize Shadow King, Erebus, can feel it and locate her. He cannot harm Bree, but when she dies, he will consume her ether and become like one of the most powerful demons known to mankind. So she decides to make a bargain with him. An unregulated bargain, may I add, because Valak isn't a part of this bargain thing. She does this on her own. And then that's when she repeats, only a king may teach a king. That crazy. Just let that sit on that for a minute. So she makes this bargain knowing that he will eventually consume all the strength and power she wishes to gain. In exchange, he wants Erebus to take Cell to Natasha, his mom, in hopes that maybe his mom knows how to save him from Demonia. So Cell sees Bree one last time, and he's like, what have you done? Then Erebus swiftly takes him away. We see Nick, and he's trying to reach for Bree, and Bree just says, I'm sorry. Please note that And then Erebus disappears with Bree instantly. And that's how we end, folks. That's crazy. I feel like a lot happened in Bloodmarked, so hopefully you enjoyed this recap. I hope it was helpful for you. It was wild to say the least, but yeah, so now you're ready to go ahead and read Oathbound if you haven't read it yet. I probably will do like a breakdown of Oathbound if you guys want, where I kind of break down each part. I think that's how I'll do it. So it'll be separate videos. It'll be like an Oathbound series. But I'll wait a little bit because we need time to read it, right? So we need time to read it. But I do have an Oathbound read along where even if you read it now or even later on, months from now, you can join in on the discussions as you read. So it's been pretty fun. I think we have like about 17 people in the read along, and I think I have it open until July 1st. So if you want to read Oathbound, if you're about to read Oathbound and you want to discuss it too, make sure you join me on Storygraph for my read along, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.